Hi everyone, welcome to my 4th edition of the Chord Ellis Music Files, number 4, which my special guest will tell me after their song request. So here is their song request. I hope you enjoy. This is called Telltale Heart by Angelica Mode, so hope you enjoy.
Feel your body next to mine tonight, you reminisce. In sweet anticipation, the ecstasy of bliss is gonna take us high until we reach that fever pitch. Bring your life into my telltale heart, pretend there's no tomorrow. We'll try to with you on the rose-colored lights, where everyone else at this party is saying goodbye. I lean into the offer of a precious lover's kiss, so that fate decides to roll the dice for momentary bliss. Bring your life into my telltale heart, pretend there's no tomorrow.
So that was Telltale Heart by Angelica Mode. And by chance tonight, I've got the bassist of Angelica Mode I'm interviewing tonight, Martin Hughes, and I'm just going to invite him on. Hi Martin.
Hello. What?
How are you?
No, interview. Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, by the way, it turns out we can't see each other, but you can see both of us. Both of
Well,
us, so
this
that's
is
okay.
it. The people at home don't need to know the magic, you know.
Yeah.
I can't see you, you can't see me, but they can see us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's the most important thing, particularly when it comes to seeing you and in all of your glory, basically,
Yeah.
you know, as opposed to me with my bird wallpaper in the background. Uh, So yeah, do you know that's the first time I think I've listened to that song proper in ages, because
Really?
so much of what I've been listening to in that song was to do with the remix competition that the label's doing with Angelica Mode,
Yeah.
and I quite enjoyed it. I'm proud to say.
Yeah. So yeah, I always went to see your for your gig when you debuted that song. Is it Shamash, was it?
probably Banshee Labyrinth, was it?
That, yeah. There, yeah.
Yeah, that was the last time. That was the last time we played was Banshees. If the
Yeah.
people that are watching know Banshee Labyrinth, it's the most haunted venue in Edinburgh, I think.
Yeah.
If you
That, yeah.
believe in that.
Yeah, I've watched the video as well. I was watching it when I was doing this interview with you, and it's quite a good video that you've made for it as well.
Oh, do you reckon?
Yeah, I like it.
I've gone ham, you know. Uh, I we were burning lots of wood in the back garden, you know.
Yeah,
Don't ask why, like lots of wood, and I was like one of them, like a hobo in, you know, the hobos that sing a cappella around the bin in Rocky One, and
yeah,
they warm their hands. I was literally like that, and I had to do like a quick turnaround, in terms of trying to look less as if I've just been setting fire to wood, and more like I've been, you know, doing something cool and artistic for the last few hours.
yeah. Was that on the questions?
Shoot.
Yeah. So some people, probably most people won't know, you're in Angelica mode with your brother Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did the Angelica mode start?
That's it's an interesting one actually. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Sweet. It's interesting. When I was working in an escape room, it was just a job I was doing at the time. I had a lot of free
Mm,
time, and I came up with a short story called The Bending Shake Circus.
mm,
Now, in the Bending Shake Circus was a band called Diva Shake, which was fronted by a fictional singer called Diva Shake,
yeah.
who was like non-binary, or if I don't know if we even had the word for that back then, but it turns out that they were. And the synthesizer player in that fake band was called Angelica Mode. So during or just before the pandemic, say 2019, I was in a band called Scream and Whisper,
Yeah.
and a guy from a record label in California saw us play and wanted to sign us based on my brother's songs. But then that band broke up.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, my brother was like, I want to avail of this opportunity. And I said, well, just use your songs. And he was trying to come up with a name for this band. And I said, you know what sounds like a pop star? Angelica Mode, which
Yeah.
translated from Italian means the angel of fashion.
Ah,
Uh, and I just thought it sounded like a pop star's name. So he went with it. And then he won an Ivan Novello Prize.
mm,
And it was in the newspapers and stuff. So then he couldn't really stop using the name. And then I joined the band at some point during the pandemic. But I thought I was out of music. I didn't want to do music anymore. I thought I was out. But it keeps dragging me back in, you know?
yeah.
But yeah, it literally just came from an opportunity that was offered to another band I was in.
Yeah.
And we just had to make it work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you just mentioned your brother, but how was it working alongside your brother in the band?
It's weird. It's one of those things where, you know how when you're at, like, say you're at Christmas dinner
Yeah.
and you're going to argue with certain members of your family, or, you know, you're so comfortable with them, you can get into heated debates.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that, except also, you know, when you're at work and there might be a colleague that really annoys you, but you've got to bite your tongue because it's a professional environment. So you can't just say anything you want. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
mixture between those two things. So sometimes other bandmates, when me and Brian will get into like arguing about something, feel a little bit uncomfortable, I think, because they
Yeah.
think it's really exploding. But they have to remember that, you know, we're brothers. It's kind of what happens. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's weird. It's difficult to keep that dynamic, but it is my brother's band.
Yeah.
So I really just show up and I learn the songs as best I can. I don't try
Yeah.
and be like, yeah, but this, you know, we need to do this or we need to do that. I just
Yeah.
show up and I try to be not problematic. But he won't let me do interviews because inevitably I will be problematic, or just talk and talk and talk about stuff that doesn't matter and go off on tangents, you know.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone knows, I don't know if you know, Martin, that I actually started playing with my brother as well, because my brother Dylan plays the guitar and I also sing. That's how I started my sort of singing career, so to speak. That's
Yeah,
sort of
I remember this kind of phase, I think,
yeah,
early on for you. And I'd met Dylan before.
yeah,
How did you find
yeah.
it?
I found it, yeah, I think luckily I found it alright. We got on about quite a lot of things, but we obviously, he played the guitar and I sung, and we sort of at the start sort of writing songs together, but and then after that, he was just playing the guitar and sort of just wrote the songs. And he sort of just still helped me with that, but I sort of mostly wrote the songs basically. But yeah, we wrote quite a few together, about maybe 5 or 6 maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not bad. Do you find it difficult to write?
A little bit. You have to be in the right frame of mind to sort of write, don't you? Do you think that as well?
Do you know what it is for me? I
Yeah.
A lot of my songs are based on, because you talk about frame of mind.
Mm.
And I have to be careful not to answer any questions that might come up and be interesting later. But you talk about frame of mind. I often get into, I have different characters that I've made up, and I get into the headspace that they would be in. It's
Yeah.
totally different frame of mind. So it doesn't matter if I'm feeling uninspired, just being in the headspace of somebody else. And then going with that and coming up with song titles that inspire me
Yeah.
really helps to keep me feeling creative. But I do have I have things that I lean on, like chord progressions or words that interest me at any given time. You can always date the songs that I write, chronologically speaking, date them, based on what word keeps showing up. Like there's a whole bunch of songs that use the word Marlene, like a name, or
Yeah.
stigmata, or pain, or shame, all these kind of things. And you can actually make a pretty good guess in what order they were written based on what words are in them, which is fairly interesting, I think. I become fascinated with words, and I think you'll get onto it later, but I love poetry. Much more than music, I love poetry.
Yeah. You mentioned about Scream and Whisper before. Is that with Brian as well? You're in that band with?
Oh yeah, that was it. I mean, pretty much every band I've been in, where that Brian was in, was to facilitate his songs. I didn't write a song until pandemic time. And even at
Yeah.
that, once I wrote one that I thought was good, I'd made lots of attempts, but once I wrote one that was good, it seemed to break the barrier down. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, they were coming out of me at an incredible pace. And not just like rubbish ones I'm really proud of. They started coming out quickly,
Mm.
where I couldn't have written a song for my whole life coming up to this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the bands I've been in, I were to facilitate my brother's music. I don't even
Yeah.
know why I started writing songs. I think I just
Yeah.
wanted to help people find my poetry originally.
Yeah. Is Scream and Whisper still going? And I've not heard much about songs or anything with them.
Oh no, Screaming Whisper's over. It's now Angelica Mode.
Ah,
That me
so
and
just
my brother do, and it's just that we wouldn't have time to do anything else. So it's all Angelica Mode, you know.
yeah. So my next question is there any other music coming out from Angelica Mode anytime soon?
Actually, yeah, I, I'm gonna sometime in April, or
Yeah.
we're playing a bunch of shows at the end of this month to promote the release of the next single, Sweet. Uh,
Yeah.
and that comes off because at the beginning of the show, if people weren't tuning in, Callum played the last Angelica Moe single, Telltale Heart. But the next one, Sweet, comes out, I think, at the end of the month. We're definitely playing some shows in record shops and stuff to promote it.
Yeah.
Uh, And if you ask me, that's a much cooler song. We really started off with we started off with kind of good stuff, but now we're getting into ones that are actually my favorites, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and that's not going to be long. I can't remember the release date, but you'll see on the Angelica Mode page there's teaser trailers and stuff for it and everything. And it contains what my brother thought was a Romeo and Juliet quote, or a rough approximation of one. Lovers entwined in consequence, alike in dignity and in household, which was never in Romeo and Juliet, but it sounds like it should have been, kind of.
Yeah.
And he was very proud of that. I love it. It's my favorite Angelica Mode song, and it's about to come out.
You mentioned about your social medias and stuff. You're on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, aren't you? The band.
I think what Angelica Mode?
Yeah.
I think so. Although I don't actually have anything to do with it, because I would get too overwhelmed by having to deal with all of that. I just get so overwhelmed with social media. And I do the best I can, but I don't manage it at all. My brother sometimes asks me to do content, and I try and do funny videos for it. And then I just send them to him for him to put out there, because I just can't, you know. Do you find that social media can be really, it's very full on, because as soon as you put something up, you're getting hundreds of people or whatever just reacting to it, and you get notifications for everything. Which, can you imagine if in real life? In real life, you did something and then 100 people started tapping you on the shoulder and coming over to you and shaking your hand. You would get quite overwhelmed. I don't think it's any different in the digital sphere. I don't think it's different at all.
No. Because on your saying about social media, I actually manage my music when I manage other pages. It's quite a lot to handle sometimes.
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. But you know, I do the best I can. Sometimes I just have to take a break, you know, and so I schedule stuff when it comes out. But you know, I digress. As I say, yeah, my brother does a lot of the social media. It's kind of on the rise. The last single, with the help of the label and stuff, did like 20 or 30,000 streams. And the video, we finally got a Vivo account as well.
Yeah.
Which made me feel like, because you used to just have to be a proper artist to get a Vivo account.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get one, but we got one now a few days ago. So the music video came out on that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite exciting. Although I hate seeing myself. That's why I've got this blinding light shining into my face. Because you know, I can see, but I can't see properly because of the light in my face, which really helps. It's like being on stage. You know, when you can't see the audience, but they can see you.
A bit like that. I've had to turn my kitchen light off, and I've got like a light sort of shining on my face because it's too bright.
Oh, do you? Because remember, I can't see you. But yeah, I tend to always go for this lighting. I have a spotlight here, you know, and I feel that it really washes me out and helps me live up to the reality television lyric of being pale and thin. You know, although I'm not so thin anymore. I've just been noticing that. But the face, you know, I still look like I did when I was about 10, so that helps. 10, you know. When I went to visit Mickey Mouse and stuff.
Right, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment as a musician and poet?
What was that?
What would you say your biggest accomplishment as a musician and poet is?
Oh, I would say two very different things. As a musician, I think my biggest accomplishment was actually being able to write a song.
Yeah.
And a song that I was proud of. The first one I really did was Where Do You Kneel? And it's the only thing I've ever done that I wouldn't change anything about. And so I think the biggest accomplishment there was when I went into the studio with my brother and my friend Dicey.
Yeah.
I managed to make something that actually reflected what I wanted it to sound like.
Yeah.
I don't know how to work in a studio. I don't know how to record music. And I'm actually a pretty bad musician. But we managed between the three of us, everybody else is really talented, to make it sound the way that I wanted. And my mind was blown.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest musical accomplishment, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of poetry, I think my greatest accomplishment in poetry was, do you know I wrote a poem once that somebody put on their gravestone?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, which I thought was really nice. And a lot of the poems and stuff that I've done, there are one or two that for some reason keep coming up as being very important to people.
Yeah.
So they tell me, that's got to count as an accomplishment.
Yeah.
When you're doing something from your brain and it means more to other people than it does to you.
Yeah.
I was really proud of that and I was really moved. So somewhere out there, there is actually, my words are on somebody's final resting place.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, you know.
Yeah.
And it was quite an emotional thing. But yeah, also, only today, I had somebody like do an analysis of a lot of the poems I'd been writing, and that made me very emotional as well. I think I was very proud for somebody to actually get enough out of what I was doing to be able to analyze it in such great detail. Like they sent me about 15 minutes worth of analysis recorded, which was amazing. I transcribed it and all earlier today, so I could keep it and all the nice things that they said.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very special.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to some poetry questions now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you are a published poet. When did you start writing poetry?
That goes back a long time. I think I started writing poetry actually almost before I could speak, I would say. I was one of these weird kids. So I grew up in a house which had it had old wallpaper and stuff in the sitting room, but I was a baby. And you know how kids just tear down wallpaper and draw on the walls and stuff?
Yeah.
I used to draw on the walls. So did my brother.
Yeah.
But nobody stopped me because the logic was that I was only going to do it again if they, painted over it or if they replaced the wallpaper. So they just let me get it all out of my system. And I used to do like pictures and probably practice writing words and stuff on the walls in my house.
Yeah.
And so from a very early age, I was writing stuff down. And I was really encouraged to do that. The earliest thing I ever remember writing was actually a poem. I got in trouble at school for something I wrote. And I was young enough that I can't remember, but I got in trouble. And so my parents said, well, don't change it.
Yeah.
And so then it was one teacher that got me in trouble. And then a different teacher came along and said, no, I think it's fantastic. And they used to talk about me behind my back all the time, saying stuff like that. Very encouraging things I didn't know about. But they were kind of do you ever, when like hands are silently moving you in a direction? I did get a lot of encouragement, I think. Or the teachers used to ask me to write stuff or assign me to write things and that kind of thing. But I had been writing poems since before I can remember. And I used to do comic books as well. I wrote a lot of comic books and I drew the pictures for them. So I suppose that
Yeah.
counts. I just used words. I've always liked words. I used to
Yeah.
eat books.
Hmm.
Yeah, and my parents would come into my bedroom, and I'd have eaten an entire book, including like the cover and the pages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which,
You feel about the sort of the teacher sort of being there. 'Cause I think I've had my music teachers like that, so that's why I'm still doing music now. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing that.
oh yeah, well you're a proper musician though, aren't you?
Yeah, I can
I
play. I can sing and play the drums and keyboard. But yeah, yeah. If it wasn't for the teacher, I wouldn't be where I am. But yeah, yeah.
I can't.
You're a proper musician as well.
I think I think I give off the illusion that I might be, but
Yeah,
every single person that's ever seen me play or had to record me playing
yeah,
gets very frustrated with me. For some reason, it sounds fine when I'm playing at concerts. I think we're just a very well rehearsed band. But if you
yeah,
try and get me to play to a metronome or something uh,
yeah,
in the recording studio, I can't
yeah.
do it. I
No,
can't do it. And I don't really know how to, like, I got asked when I was in school, you know, when
yeah,
they teach you to play the recorder or something,
yeah,
we had to play a concert at the assembly, and the teacher singled me out. We spoke about getting encouraged to write. Well, the
yeah,
teacher singled me out before this assembly and asked me if I
yeah,
would not play, just stand there pretending to play because I was so bad.
yeah,
And it was at that moment I think I resigned myself to the idea that I might not be a very good musician. But I managed to convince people that I have some value in bands because they keep asking me to do it.
yeah,
Uh, so I must be doing something right, you know?
yeah.
Even if it's
Mm,
just kind of standing there and, you know, looking cool.
yeah,
I can do
yeah,
that, apparently.
yeah. What would you say your inspiration and themes are on your poetry?
Oh, inspiration for themes.
Inspiration and
I
theme.
I talk, and this is for everything I write.
Yeah,
I talk almost constantly about either faith and religion in a way that I think really religious people don't like, but it comes from a sincere place.
yeah,
Faith and religion, morality, punishment, and this idea of justice uh, and identity. You know,
yeah,
I'm in a phase at the moment about writing a lot about pain and feeling ashamed for stuff, but also writing a lot about being a woman. But I'm not a woman,
yeah.
you
No.
know? I'm
Mm,
not. But I write a lot about being like, you know, these about being kind of queer or a trans person, like a trans woman. Uh,
yeah.
because I do feel out of place so
Mm,
often, and I do feel as if I am not. You know, when trans people or something speak about they were always a woman, but they just were born in the wrong body.
yeah.
I feel, but I'm not a woman, and I am definitely a man. So I was born the right gender or sex,
Mm,
but I don't think I was born to be what I am.
yeah.
There's very limited opportunities I have in my life to be what I really am.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, which
Mm,
I don't really know what to do it yet, and it might take me an entire lifetime to figure it out.
yeah.
Uh, I write a lot about identity, and I write a lot about shame. I feel a lot of shame, and I still don't know
Yeah.
why I feel ashamed,
Mm,
but I do. And then I write a lot about God and faith and morality. I'm quite, you know, for a person who dresses like this, you know, if people can't see, I've got like lipstick and stuff on.
yeah.
It might make you think that I'm kind of out there or free spirited or liberal, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I do have elements of my personality that are quite puritanical or bordering on puritanical, really staunch beliefs. and ideas of what is right and wrong. In the same way that you might expect from a bigot, but I'm not bigoted, you know? I just really have strong ideas of what the world around me should be like, which is kind of bad. And that's interesting. So I write a lot about justice and injustice because of that. I just walk through the world so frustrated with everything. So I have to like put earphones in and try and tune it out, or else something will annoy me. And I like people. But yeah, if I concentrate hard enough, something will annoy me. I will feel like something's not right. And everybody laughs at me for being so. They laugh at me for being so opposite to the way I present myself, and for getting so riled up about things like hippies and freeloaders, you know, skateboarders. But I do, and I don't like drug addicts because I think a lot of people in the music industry are so proud about getting involved in these substances. And they just go off and they hurt people. I've been hurt by a lot of people that indulge in these substances. So I went totally the other way. And people don't look at me and think I would have, but I did. And I think that's quite interesting to write about. And in fact, I play up to it in the song, in the poems and the songs. I write a lot about heroin. Never done it, never probably will do it. But I play up to the idea that people think that I am something that I'm not. And then they talk to me and I'm not what they expected, and I like that. I find that very entertaining. And I like then how it opens people up, because all of a sudden they see that you're more switched on and you're more open and friendlier than they expected. And they open up. It's quite a good trick, I think.
I totally agree with you on that, because obviously everybody's not the same, everybody's different, so everybody does different things, so it's, I think it's good to be different.
Yeah. Oh, well, you say different. I suppose it's good to be
yourself.
Individual. Insofar as being true to yourself. Because some people might be being true to their self, and from an outside point of view, they seem quite conventional. But if you talk to somebody enough, you'll always find that thing that makes the child come out, and it makes their eyes light up. And that's when you get to it. It's when you get past the surface and you find out what really makes somebody come alive, I would say.
You've had some of your poetry published in places in America. How did you go about doing that, or how did people approach you, or how did that happen?
That's an interesting thing. I spend a lot of time. I have a diary somewhere over here, this direction, and I have all the deadlines and stuff for short stories and poems. And it's literally a case of knowing when a deadline is, what kind of stuff they're looking for, and sending it to them via email. And if it's right for them, or if they're looking for a poem or a story like that, they'll probably publish it. It's not always going to pay money, but it's just cool to have your stuff out there and to put yourself out there. Oftentimes they will pay money if it's a bigger opportunity or prize, or publication. But it doesn't have to be. A lot of the ones that I've been publishing, especially across the ocean, they won't be that much money in it, but it's great in terms of just being able to look at your life and say that you did something, and that maybe somebody will read it and get as much out of it as you did, but in terms of getting stuff published, it really is just a case of finding opportunities, sending your poems to them with a little message about yourself, a biography, and seeing if they want it. It's quite simple, time consuming,
Yeah, just making people aware of your sort of aware of your poetry and your music and stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is if you're in writing or any kind of art form for money, you probably don't need
Yeah.
to be in it. If you're looking for money, do something else. But if you're
Yeah.
in it just because you have to do it, I can't not write. I may as well be dead if I didn't write.
Yeah.
But then why not? If you're writing anyway for free, you may as well put it out there and see what happens. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it really just comes down to passion. You can't do it for the money.
Yeah.
But if you're writing the stuff, as I say, I've got a diary there.
Yeah.
I have hundreds and hundreds of places where I send these poems and short stories. And only about 25% of the time they get accepted. But I keep sending stuff out until it gets accepted somewhere. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be first time. And
Yeah.
just because it doesn't get accepted doesn't mean it stinks. It just means maybe it wasn't the right place for it. So
Yeah.
you've got to be persistent and also lower your expectations some degree. But not, don't dream
Yeah.
for less. It's, understand that just because you're imagining that everybody else is going to think that your work is as great as you do doesn't mean they will. But it doesn't mean it's not going to be read by one person who
Yeah.
carries it in their wallet for the next 50 years or something, because they might. It might mean a lot to somebody. You're not going to get
Yeah.
anything out of it necessarily, but it might mean a lot to somebody. And that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And yeah, music doesn't make much money anyway. Not all people are musicians, obviously famous musicians are obviously doing it for the money, but the ones that are really want to do it, they don't do it for the money. They just do it to sort of have that praise and just people enjoying your music and poetry and stuff.
Yeah. I used to wonder why. I was kind of into rock bands and music when I was younger. And the thing I
Yeah.
kept hearing like famous musicians or famous actors and stuff saying was that they didn't want their children to go into show business. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous, It's worked out for them. Why not? Now
Yeah.
I get it. It's a
Yeah.
thankless business. There's no
Yeah.
money in it unless you're very, very lucky and very, very successful. It's difficult. There's actually more manual labor and heavy lifting than you might think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a terrible industry. And yet people like you and I can't seem to do anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a musician. I like to write poems and stuff and I play in a band. I just, I have to do something creative
Yeah.
or else I think my life would be wasted. Now,
Yeah.
for somebody, they might be lucky and their life's purpose is to be a brain surgeon earning millions and millions of pounds, but it's not me. I tried brain surgery once, and I was really bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't kill anybody. It was one of these, it was like an experience at an anatomy museum, and I actually performed a fake brain surgery on somebody and killed them within seconds. Literally seconds.
Yeah.
It was like what's that game? Operation.
Yeah.
A super realistic operation,
Yeah.
and I was bad. So that was my dream. Scuppered.
Yeah.
Scuppered. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I'd like to be a brain surgeon anyway.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
sensitive.
I know.
Huh?
Yeah. My question is, just wanted some young and upcoming musicians and poets might be watching this interview. Is there any advice you'd give to them about starting out in bands and writing poetry?
Advice about starting out in bands. I'm going to actually try and give proper advice here
Yeah.
instead of spiteful coming up for 29 and jaded with the world advice. In terms
Yeah.
of getting started out in a band, I think it's very important to know what you want to be. A lot of people start out trying to be very original, but you've
Mhm.
got to start somewhere. I think you have to know what you want to be, and then find out how you're going to make that your own as you go along. Just get started, and if you can find people that have as much passion for it as you do,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Trying to get a group of musicians together is very difficult, actually, and with
Yeah.
schedules and things, you get a
Mhm.
small group of friends together and just try and make some noise. And if your bass player likes The Fall and your singer likes The Doors, let everybody bring their own flavor to it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes in bands, you find they don't write entire songs together. People bring stuff in. Let people
Yeah.
bring things in. Let the song be what it is. Make suggestions on that, and then
Yeah.
work from there. But if everybody is trying to put in their 2 cents as to what the song should be before it's written, you're not going to get past the opening riff
No.
because everybody's going to want it to be different. But if you just bring something in and let everybody play it their own way until it sounds good or sounds interesting, it's a good start.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think everybody, for example, with reality television,
Yeah.
I wanted to sound like something between Lou Reed's Berlin and Nine Inch Nails. And
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. I wanted it to be verbose, but I also wanted it to be really disgusting to listen to. And I took those two things and I tried to put them together. With Angelica Mode, I wanted it to be a bit like Depeche Mode, but also maybe Lady Gaga or, you know, uh, Duran Duran.
Yeah.
Synthesizers, basically. I wanted synthesizers. And I
Mhm.
had these ideas, and then you get three guys in a room, and it doesn't sound like that, but you know what you're going for,
Yeah.
and see what happens. I think you've got to know what you're going for. In terms of poetry, because I've been speaking about the band for ages, in
Yeah.
terms of getting started in poetry, read. Just read everything.
Mhm.
If you think it stinks, ask yourself, why does it stink? If you think it's great, ask yourself, why do you think it's great?
Yeah.
Read the dictionary, find words that you like, make up your own words. Fall in
Yeah.
love with language and question why you like certain passages and why you don't like others. Ask
Yeah.
yourself, when you're reading, do it with a view to trying to find out what you can take from it. You know,
Yeah.
there's no
Mhm.
point in trying to write when you don't know how to, you don't know any words because you've got to start somewhere. You can't run a marathon if you don't know how to walk. So
Yeah.
learn how to walk, by which I mean learn interesting words, learn how to
Yeah.
speak well, read poetry and analyze it. You've got to learn how to walk, then you can walk a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Then you can run a bit farther. All of a sudden, you're away. And
Yeah.
once you know how to write poetry or lyrics or anything,
Yeah.
then you can concentrate on trying to make it unique or original to yourself, or tear it down and try and make something more than what you're trying to say. I'm a
Yeah.
big exponent of writing down in the simplest terms what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
and then making it beautiful. Sometimes it comes out beautiful the first time, but not always. But at least if you know what you want to say, you can find out how to say it better, you know?
Mhm.
And that would be probably my best piece of advice. So often I start with just one sentence or a paragraph that's rubbish, and then
Mhm.
I just change it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. It's
know?
like that in songwriting as well. It's sort of trial and error. Just somebody that works out, just moving it about and stuff like that.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how many chords you know, but I made a conscious effort actually not to learn any more chords past the basic ones that I learned when I was learning the guitar
Yeah.
because it cut out so many options. And if you
Yeah.
cut out the options, you, I think in terms of the music, if I only know, say, the basic chords.
Yeah.
It frees me up more. The choices are already made. An A minor has to go to like, you know, a C or an F for it to sound good or whatever.
Yeah.
Your choices are made. You've got limited choices. So then you can get creative with the things that actually matter. Melody and lyrics. Whereas if you know 50 million chords, you could spend
Yeah.
2 years trying to pick the next chord because you know 50 million voicings for the same chord. It's the same chord, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Just,
Do you find that you get paralyzed by having too many options when you're writing?
I don't know actually know many chords really because I don't play the guitar or anything. I know sort of the basic ones for keyboard, but I don't really know like I can't read sheet music or anything. I've sort of got an ear. I know what sort of sounds good, sort of thing. You get what I mean?
Oh, you're kind of like me then. You just work with what you've got. I think that's the best way. I actually hate when bands try and make their chord progressions too complicated.
Yeah.
Because you can't, if you like the song, you can't learn how to play it. And most of the time, they lean too much on musicality rather than substance.
Yeah.
Mhm. There's a reason why AC/DC play stadiums and, you know, jazz musicians don't. You know, most jazz is too complicated for people to get into. But everybody can, you know, can listen to, you know, whether it's AC/DC or it's Taylor Swift, whatever you're
Yeah.
into. Everybody can listen to those songs and learn how to play them, so engage with the music. The
Yeah.
melodies are going to be pretty strong because the human ear it's wired for pattern recognition. So if
Yeah.
you're sticking to a bit more basic chord progressions, your melodies over that are going to be more recognizable to the average person, I think. Now, maybe I'm just a rubbish musician, and some jazz guy listening to this will say that I'm wrong
Yeah.
because he's just better than me.
Mm.
You know, I'm happy to be wrong if it just comes down to talent, but I don't have that talent, and I'm happy enough not to have it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I don't think it's everything to know like the chords and read sheet music and stuff. There's a lot of like famous musicians and actually some can't read music at all, and they still have made it quite big.
Well, exactly. Like, how many successful musicians do you think went to music school or something? If you want to be a composer, you've got to know sheet music. If you want to write music, you don't. You
Yeah.
used to have to, but you don't anymore. If you want
Yeah.
to transcribe your music now, you can just record it
Yeah.
and know how you're playing it. In fact, there's probably an app that can listen to you play an instrument and transcribe it onto sheet music.
Yeah.
And aren't gonna. People don't care.
No.
If they like your song, they don't care if you know theory. You know,
Mm.
sometimes all you need is a good ear.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
I could actually get so grumpy with this. Remember I spoke earlier about
Yeah.
how I could just go on a diatribe about things that annoy me. This is
Yeah.
probably one of those things. Uh, absolutely. But I will keep it. I will keep it under wraps. You know, because we don't need me going off on a massive tangent about how much I hate these people and phonies.
So yeah, that's the end of my questions. I'm just wondering, would you able to do a poem for us just now?
Yeah, actually, just before we came on, I picked one out especially for you.
Yeah.
Uh, and was supposed to be an elegy for a funeral.
Mm.
Uh, it's not really, but it's what inspired me to do it. So I will read it out to you now. If do you want it now?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Sweet. Right. This is called an elegy. I saw her in the scraping place, she who so freely bestowed high standing and station, and examined the faces of the poor congregation to ponder on who will take the name and who the body. Who of them spent Sundays fallen by a mantelpiece mass, and found her voice familiar in the rain, and swore they saw her smiling in where the sunlight came, turning fogging morning sky to stained glass, which cut their glory in dewy alabaster disgracing, to find beneath them but a thing to be taken, and who merely prayed because they could be praying, and who, just as she did, gave their life to all that was sublime.
I enjoyed that one.
I quite like that one. At the time, I had a fixation with stained glass and alabaster. Remember, I was
Yeah.
speaking about being able to date the stuff I write, but I always liked that one. And I was on my bedroom floor looking for a poem I'd actually written down, and that I could find. And I found that, and I thought, I'm such a big fan of that.
Yeah.
That would be the one. And it's not too long either, so I thought it would be a good one to read out on this.
Yeah.
Plus, I still like the word alabaster.
Yeah.
I just, and I didn't, it's got. Do you know what a neologism is?
I've heard the word, but I don't know what it is.
It is, well, a neologism is a nonce word that's taken into the common vernacular, i.e., a word that you make up.
Mm.
But if it gets taken into like everyday speech, it becomes a neologism.
Yeah.
And so I've been playing around a lot with them recently, but that doesn't have any, which is probably good because at least then people can listen to it and somewhat understand what it all means,
Yeah.
What's
So,
your favorite word?
I put more on the spot. I don't know, a bit random. Enormous.
Enormous.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Freud would have a field day with that choice, maybe. Same as he would with my favorite word at one point being shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm always out on the lookout for good words. I think that's why I've been making them up recently. Because I've read so many books on my shelf there. I've even read the entirety of the dictionary that I've got on the shelf. So
Yeah.
I'm in lieu of being able to easily find new words, I've just started making them up
Yeah.
that very, very specifically describe the thing that I'm trying to describe, or define the thing that I'm trying to define more so.
Yeah.
So I've started making them up.
So you're actually ended my questions. Thanks for letting me interview.
What was that?
You're actually ended my questions. Thanks for letting me interview.
Oh, well, that's true, yeah.
So yeah,
I even managed to ask you a few questions of my own.
you can if you want.
No, I had been peppering them in throughout the interview, like about your favorite word and stuff like that. But you asked me quite a few interesting questions, I thought,
Yeah.
and I managed to just go off topic for almost all of them. That's why the band doesn't let me do interviews, because I will either go off topic or I'll throw in things that aren't true as joke. Not because I'm a liar, but because I just think it's interesting to just spin yarns, I suppose.
Yeah.
I can't help but tell stories. And under the assumption that people know that the story I'm telling is untrue and I'm only telling it for comedy value, or I will embellish it. But yeah, I'm not allowed to do anti-promote interviews on my own. I'm not. One time they were even in the radio and my brother told me not to speak. But
Yeah.
I'm also not allowed to speak at the concerts. I have a word count. I'm usually only allowed to speak, things that are pre-agreed upon. I
Yeah.
can only say those things. Unless I break the rules.
Yeah, I think it's quite good to go off topic on certain things because I think those that are watching and me, I've learned quite a few things that I didn't know about you, and I've known you for about quite a long time.
Oh, it's probably coming on for 10 years now, would you say?
Yeah,
On
about that. Yeah, yeah,
uh, maybe about that, because I'm sure when around the time we first met, uh, I'm pretty sure the Arctic Monkeys had not long released that big album AM, if you remember that. So I think it
yeah,
would have been about 2014 or 2015 maybe that we actually met.
yeah.
Because I only came here in 2013, so it wasn't that. But yeah, it's been a long time. Uh, you just can't get rid of me. I'm like syphilis. Can you get rid of syphilis?
I think you can.
Or TB? I don't know if you can get rid of that. I suppose you can get rid of anything nowadays. But yeah, thanks so much for interviewing me.
All right. So yeah, man, I actually got another interview next week with a singing duo called the Folk Drama,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
yeah, which is
I
on Sunday.
played a concert with them.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah, we played in it was North Berwick, maybe. We played a big festival in the middle of a field with them.
yeah,
But my brother knows Erin Wright from the folk drama from years ago. They used to be very good friends.
yeah.
So I was thinking, is it next Sunday you're doing that?
Yeah, next Sunday the 16th, and it's 8 o'clock till half 8 again on here. So yeah,
Oh, cool. Well, I reckon I should be able to tune in for that
yeah.
because I'm not working next Sunday. So, hurrah!
Yeah.
Alrighty. Are you wanting me to head off?
Yeah, can do. You still enjoying your new job, by the way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I work in a school. That's my new job. So I get weekends off from that. Uh, and it's great. I get a lot more exercise doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. I work in a nursery, and it's a lot of exercise. A lot of, yeah,
All the kids want to play football with me, so yeah,
yeah,
I get exercise there. But I love it. I love it. And I can teach them how to play instruments and stuff as well, and how to
yeah,
to to write creatively, And
yeah, yeah.
I can't complain.
Yeah, I'll
But
do
all
the
right, thank you
yeah, I'll
so
leave
much
it
for the interview,
to
and I shall tune in next Sunday.
yeah. Okay. See you soon.
I'll see you later, alligator.
Welcome to the Bye. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that interview. And as I said, I've got my next one, my fifth one, with the folk drama on Sunday the 16th of March from 8 till half 8. So I'll see you all then and see you soon. Bye.